Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of Ranking the Albums. Today, we're going to look at the studio discography of probably one of my favorite bands of the 90s. And Mr. Jeff Young is going to join us on this show. In fact, this show was actually his idea, and many of you viewers who have asked for it. So welcome back to the show once again, Mr. Jeff J.Y. Young. What's going on, man?
Hola. Good afternoon, Mr. Pardo. To the bomb, everybody out there in the Sea of Tranquility.
So Aliceinchains, not labeled as a grunge band back in the day. Looking back, a little bit different. I always thought. I kind of thought that they were like head and shoulders kind of above a lot of these other bands that came out on that scene. And as we have seen, still going strong to this day, despite the death of Lane Staley, whoever they say his last name, and still sounding like Aliceinchains. And not a lot of albums here. Jeff and I are actually going to look at 8. We're going to include 2 EPs. So we got 8 studio records in total. And before we get started on our countdown here, Jeff, got any kind of little words of wisdom about this band you want to drop in? Pretty cool band, I think.
Oh, so many, my friend. Where to begin?
Yeah.
You know, should we start with their trademark off-center Gregorian chant harmonies that set them apart from every other band and far too many bands copied?
Yeah.
I'm thinking Stone Temple Pilots, Godsmack. They even took a song title of theirs for their band name, didn't they?
Yeah, yeah.
And I want to underscore how much a part of that vocal process Jerry Cantrell has always been. Although people may not know it, a lot of times they may think it's Lane Stanley, but it's Jerry Cantrell. And he was actually in the chorus all through grade school and high school, and he was in all the plays. Very much reminded me, there's a Gibson Guitars interview with Jerry Cantrell that I highly recommend. He's actually sitting right in front of his album collection, which I hate to say dwarfs that enormous CD collection of yours, but it's huge. I mean, he's got a ladder that slides. It's like a law library. And he's just sitting in a chair, all in black, and it's a wonderful interview. And I think you'll learn a lot about the band that you probably didn't know from that interview. And so I think his ear, and also he has a strong leaning towards country music. And in some of the Aliceinchains, it's almost like a dark country harmony here and there. Like think of the Rooster, for example. He plays Dave Friedman amps. So we know he's got great taste. He actually has a signature. There's a signature Jerry Cantrell amp available through Friedman website, etc. Many guitar centers, Sam Ash, musician's friend. So that's all the advanced stuff. And I just want to say going in, I'm going to be a little bit following in the footsteps of our muchacho, Mr. Martin Popoff, a little bit contrarian.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I had a feeling you were going to say that. So yeah, Martin likes to be contrarian.
A little bit contrarian about the Facelift album. And I mean, we've seen this band after band that you mentioned on this show, from Europe to Uriah Heep. You could probably add 10 right off the top of your head, bands that are still going strong, like a fine wine, right?
Deep Purple, Saxon.
I think Aliceinchains is one of those bands. And, you know, I want to challenge people's nostalgia and irrational attachment to, you know, when people die and they are suddenly larger than life, you know, and not to take anything away from Lane Stanley, because he's probably one of my favorite hard rock singers ever. Love the cat. I mean, out of the Seattle movement, you've got Soundgarden and Chris Cornell, which is amazing.
Yeah.
You've got Aliceinchains, the original singer. And then you have a fine band, Mother Love Bone, that we should shine a little light on, because Alice in Chains played many of their early shows as a dual bill, and they were really close buddies with that band. And when that band lost their singer, Andrew Wood, for me, that band went down the tank. You know, I don't need to mention any names, but that new singer hasn't sang an in-tune note in his entire career, and I'll just leave it at that. So for me, Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, and Mother Love Bone are the epitome of like the finest of that Pacific Northwest Seattle movement. And Alice in Chains I still follow, and what I was blown away by as we researched this show, really diving deep into the newer stuff, is just how great it is. So with that being said,
number 8 for you. Get started. You're number 8. Jeff will go first.
Well, I'm going to start with their EP. And of course, the EP, Sap has 5, and Jar of Flies is at 6, or maybe a couple more.
Hold on. I'll tell you in a second, because I got it right here.
Sap was released in 1992.
Jar of Flies has 7.
Right now by mentioning, pardon?
7. Jar of Flies is 7.
All right, so maybe if only for the lack of content, and just because it has a couple less songs, 1992 Sap, I want to mention going in, this band has a history of amazing album covers. And I think the album cover for Sap, you know, that it's mostly acoustic. There's some lead solos and whatnot, but just a really cool cover with the tree. And of course the title, and you're thinking of acoustic guitar and wood and the Pacific Northwest. So really cool album cover. And the first song that really stood out to me as I listened through was Got Me Wrong. And I had to put a big smiley face next to that one. Am I Inside is a standout track. Love Song is the opposite of what you would think going in by the title. Like you think of the Cure's Love Song, it's nothing like that. This is probably one of their most thrashy tunes, right? And it's got this crazy cool groove and lots of stops and start jerky, herky-jerky. And I know Pete's gotta love the McCartney Wings influenced Uncle Albert vocal. We're so sorry. Alice in Chains. They have that thing going on that tune. Killer. And that's all I got to say about that fine 5-song EP, Sap.
Cool.
And coming in at number 8 with this band is no shame, because I don't think anything we're gonna list is weak. Every album is strong.
Yeah, I mean, you took the words right out of my mouth. So Sap is also going to be my number 8. And for whatever reason, I couldn't find the CD. I know I have it here somewhere. Don't know where it is. I have all the other ones. But I will say for me, yeah, all these albums are quite good. I would say Sap probably speaks to me the least out of all of them. Doesn't mean it's bad. You know, it's really heavy on the acoustic stuff. I think everybody knows me by now. I'm not the world's biggest acoustic music fan, but the songs are really good. I mean, Jeff mentioned Got Me Wrong, which is absolutely terrific. Am I Inside? Good stuff. The songs are really haunting, right? They're pretty memorable, which is good. And I think, you know, they like playing this acoustic stuff. I mean, they would regularly drop either some acoustic tracks on their albums or these EPs that they would pop out, you know, were mostly acoustic fare anyway. So yeah, Sap for me is number 8 as well. So back to you for number 7.
Let's underscore right there while we're at it, that they were one of the, I mean, Nirvana, everyone gives them a lot of credit, but as far as getting that whole unplugged movement going, they were instrumental. And I think Eric Clapton always says, if you want to see if a guy can really play guitar, you know, unplug his amp and hand him an acoustic guitar. That phrase, actually, I read it in some Guitar Player magazine, and that actually is what kind of sent me really strong into studying flamenco and classical. And I think of all these hard rock bands, Alice in Chains, Jerry can really play. and he's great on acoustic guitar. And now with William, they got another strong guitar player in the band. He's a strong solo artist in his own right. So I really enjoy their acoustic stuff. And it's, I mean, heavy to me isn't always how many Marshalls you're playing through. Like bum 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 was like the metal. That's pretty heavy, right? I think they get really heavy on acoustic, and they have some really epic, timeless tracks that are. We're going to get into some masterpiece acoustic work by this band as we dive a little deeper here.
Yep, I agree.
Strong acoustic band.
All right, what do you got for number 7?
Did you put Sap too? So we're both Sap at number 8?
We're both sapping at number 8. Yep, you got it.
All right. Well, again, no slight to this EP, but again, now we're from 5 songs to 6 songs. I'm going to go with 1994's Jar of Flies. Another killer album cover. There's some really cool stuff on this sound. Rotten Apple has these cool kind of like Munchkin. It's kind of a different vibe than their other Gregorian chant harmonies. It's a little higher pitch. Sounds like they could be on the Yellow Brick Road in Oz, but that's a really cool song. Nutshell is a masterpiece. And I know they start one of their live acoustic albums with that song. That's a masterpiece right there. No Excuse is it's a hit, but it should have been 10 times bigger hit than it was. Whale and Wasp is amazing with the classical vibes that song has. Forget about it. Don't Follow. Now we're getting into their Dirgy Blues, and it has the harp on it, mouth harp, harmonica. Very cool in that. And of course, a great title. And you gotta love the jazzy breaks on, it's got this stop-start kind of staggered thing, going through different moods from hard rock to jazz. And it's called Swing on This.
Yep.
That song's so super cool. I mean, we're almost listing see, there's not a dud on any of these albums. It's just, there's some real shiners that stand out.
We'll talk more about that in a minute. My number 7 is going to be 2009's Black Gives Way to Blue.
Boo! That's one of their best albums, dude.
Well, but we did say that all these albums are really strong. So
that's one of their best albums.
It's great.
Oh, man. But
so this is their first one in 14 years. First one in 14 years. First one, William Duvall on vocals and rhythm guitar. Although, and I do want to mention this because Jeff hinted at it before, Jerry actually sings most of the vocals on this album. And he sounds just like Lane, which just goes to show you that a lot of the vocals you were hearing on those early albums was to both of those guys, and they both sound so similar. And now you got William Duvall, who also has that similar vibe. He's a good guitar player. This is a very strong album. Check My Brain, Last of My Kind, You're My Decision, A Looking in View, Lesson Learned, all really strong stuff. It's heavy. What's interesting is on these 3 newer albums is the band are writing longer songs. Like there's still a lot of songs on these albums. Songs are now 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 minutes long. There's a lot of riffing, a lot of atmosphere, a lot of emotion. Really good stuff. I think out of the 3 of the more recent albums, I think I like the other 2 a little better, but I don't have a ton of time with any of them. So this one is going to come in at number 7 for me now, but I like it a lot.
You need to spend more time on that one, buddy, because that's going to rise right up your list.
It probably will. It probably will.
That's the first time I saw him on tour with that singer. I saw him out in Vegas, and they killed.
Yeah, I'm sure they did.
Killed it.
But I like it. I mean, number 7 is no slouch. Like I said, it's a great album. I really dig it quite a bit. So back to you.
Here comes the Contrarian.
There you go.
Number 6, Facelift.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Man in the Box is cool. Duh. I never, I don't really need to hear that again. It was a great breakout track for the band. Love, Hate, Love is killer.
Yep.
It Ain't Like That. I Know Something. The Cult, Morrison vocals on Lane Stanley on that tune. Listen how much Morrison he's got that and that's what the new singer, he can do that upper placement where these Seattle singers place in the upper part of the palate and the back of the throat. Eddie Vedder's the worst. I can't stand it. But the new singer can get that vibe. And there's times when you're listening to the new 3 albums that you'd swear to God it's Leigh Stanley, right? But the new singer Williams got a little bit more musical singing voice. You know what I'm saying? It sounds a little more like he's singing than putting on an affectation, that frog quality in the voice that I call it, that the Seattle singers got into. Sunshine is a killer Seattle blues, dirgy. I mean, they have this really cool tendency of enveloping the blues in their tunes, but it doesn't sound like any kind of stale blues. It's their own kind of blues. And there's songs on every album that go down this kind of path. It's one of their templates for their songwriting. So cool. But I think, again, they were on a lot of drugs at the time. They were very young and they haven't had time to mature. And you can hear the adolescence on the album. And I just think this is a band that their new 3 albums and their songwriting has just gotten so majestic. And again, like a fine wine. And Jerry Cantrell I think he's carrying himself as a great ambassador for not just the Seattle music scene, but the entire rock music scene. So I really, really respect, and seeing the band live with the new singer, that cat's a star, hands down. And just his look, his vibe, he's got just a cooler than Lenny Kravitz, He's just, he's taller, he's just comes up, he plays guitar great. And he's a buddy of mine on Facebook, and he's doing a lot of solo things, that you can go and see some live streams and stuff. So I really invite you to go check that out, because that guy's a beast.
Cool. My number 6, Jarflies, 1994. I dig this a lot. For me, this resonates more than Sap. I think, man, the hooks on this album are just killer. Just this whole thing is just so memorable. I like how they mix the acoustic and the electric guitars on here. And like Jeff mentioned, these guys know how to make acoustic songs sound heavy. Rotten Apple is great. Nutshell is just, oh man, Lane's vocal is just amazing on that. I Stay Away is great with the strings in the background. It's just got that roaring chorus. Just love it. Jerry's just screaming away on lead guitar. No Excuses. Should have been huge, like you said. And then you got Swing on this. I dig it. I love the album cover. Always have. So that's my number 6. It's killer, no filler. All killer, no filler.
Uh-huh. All right. So, and taking points off just for the worst album cover in there, I'm sick to death of the pyramid with the all-seeing eye. In all the music, just Google it, just like Google music, pyramid, all-seeing eye, and look how many bands are using this symbology. Look on the back of your dollar bill. I'm over it. It's not original. So that album cover bummed me out. But Rainier Fog is a great album. I was listening to it today, and it's like, I was like, I could switch this out with maybe the Devil, put Dinosaurs here. I could interchange those. I'm just, this is 2018, so this is their newest album, Rainier Fog. But it's killer. And as I was listening to it today in the shower, I was going, I want to get more familiar with this album. And at this point, it's show and tell time. Time to show off the new Jerry Cantrell wah. Can everyone see how cool? And I mentioned it at this time because it has the lyrics, and I'll approach to Rainier Fog is on the bottom of the pedal. So, and that's a killer track.
Oh
It's
yeah.
obviously a big song for them. If he's going to put it on the bottom of his pedal.
Very cool. Look at that. Okay, thank you to the fine folks at Dunlop.
I'll be using that on my upcoming instrumental single, Wave Rider, coming soon. As soon as my hand heals up here. But that comes in at number 5 for me. Red Giant is really sludgy and cool. Fly, I really like that one. Deaf Ears, Blind Eyes. They have this thing, and they really, the first time I really noticed it was on Check Your Brain, which we'll get to. This kind of stalling riff where it feels like they're actually slowing the turntable down. Gong, 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 gong. And it's how they bend the notes, how the drummer pauses. It's a whole thing that gives this kind of stop start, like you're just slowing the record down just for a second, then it speeds back up. And this tune, Deaf Ears, Blind Eyes, has that cool kind of stop start, stalled out feel. That's some heavy ass shite right there on that tune. Also, So Far Under, pretty Sabbathy. It's got that heavy dirge thing, and they do that so well to get that stalling kind of feel. It's better to have kind of a slower, dirgy kind of tempo to make that happen, so you can really hear the stall out and how the band is pulling the beat back, pulling it behind the beat a little bit. So that's a killer one. And then Never Fade. Let's mention this at this point. This band has a tendency, as I listen to the albums back to back, to bury some of their best tunes at the end of the record. Did you notice that?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I get it, maybe the pacing, they don't want to just shoot their wad on the first tune, but like every one of these 3 new albums with Williams singing, they just, each song gets better and better, and you're like, you're at the last song, this is a masterpiece. So the song Never Fade, that should have been a huge hit right there. You know, only in a world this messed up, you know, and people this apathetic about music, just not paying attention, not being loyal to bands like this, would this song not be huge? Never Fade is killer. It's the shizzle. It's still the worst cover in their canon, so points off for that.
Well, it's my number 5 as well. I agree with everything you said. It's a heavy album, but heavy and melodic. And there's a lot of doom metal stuff going on in this album. You know, like Drone, freaking heavy, right? The one, title track, Red Giant, So Far Under, Never Fade, like you mentioned. Just a good heavy album. And I got to mention it again because it's even more so on this album. And I've read people say how their songs now are too long. I don't agree, because I think one of the issues I had with some of their earlier stuff is that the songs weren't long enough. So I think now they've gotten into this.
Your attention span is too short, Goldfish. How about that?
Yeah, I guess, I don't know, but it's, you look back at Facelift, and most of those songs are like 2.5, 3.5 minutes long. Some of them I would have loved to have been longer. I think now they finally got it. They're like, you know what? We're just going to dig in deep, crank out some riffs, load on the atmosphere, throw in tons of vocal hooks, and it works. So yeah, good heavy album. It's their most recent, comes in at number 5 for me. Quite good. And you know what? The more time I spend with these more recent 3 albums, I think the higher up the list they're going to go. Because I think there's like 1 or 2 in my list that are coming that are borderline, and these could kind of overtake them at any point in time. But we'll get there. So back to you for number 4.
I know what that one is. It'll be my number 2. But we're up at the number 4 now.
Yep.
1995's Aliceinchains. It's with the fluorescent lemon 3-legged dog cover. Love it. Killer. This album is amazing. this album, again, and this underscores what I was saying about Facelift. So much more mature. It's got all the stuff that you'll find on Facelift and more. I think the harmonies on Grind are like total King's X. And I think they kind of, King's X has that Gregorian meets Beatles harmony thing. And maybe aliceinchains was a little influenced by that, because all us musicians love King's X big time. So I hear a lot of King's X in that tune. Heaven Beside You is killer. Yeah. I had to cover that. I was teaching, I think there's 7 or 8 Guitar Center studios. They're not Guitar Center music stores. They don't stock equipment or drums, pianos. It's all rehearsal rooms and less private lessons. And there was one in Woodland Hills, California, and I had to do a live performance workshop with a bunch of the students where you put a band together and you coach the band. And I know one of the songs we did was Heaven Beside You, so I had to learn that. And these songs are deceptively cool, how the guitars are. Once you start sitting down and playing his guitar parts, there's just something very cool about how he writes and his rhythm style. Again, another player, he's a great lead player, no doubt, but this is a player to underscore that rhythm guitar, you know, that's an art, and he's really great at holding down the rhythm and writing memorable guitar riffs, right? Love it. Hats off to Jerry Cantrell on that. Head Creeps was really cool.
Oh yeah, yep.
Again is killer. The Shame in You has really cool guitars, and a song that I play all the time on the radio show, Frogs. I have an exclamation point next to that. And that's their 3rd LP, and it's the first that they have Mike Inez on bass.
Yep.
And they didn't miss a beat in that department, because he's a great bass player. He played with Heart, of course, also. They're all buddies, those Seattle bands. That's my number 4. Love it.
So my number 4, my number 3. My number 4 is on the verge of passing my number 3, but I've been kind of going back and forth with this list for like a week now, and I'm going to leave it as is for now. But if we were, Jeff and I, if we were to talk about this in a couple of weeks, I have a feeling my number 4 would be at my number 3. But I'm going to go with the way it is today. So the Devil Put Dinosaurs here from 2013. Great album. And I really like this one the best out of the 3 more recent ones. You know, here you got William Duvall, who's he's singing a lot of the lead vocals on here. He sounds amazing. He just fits right in. This album, again, heavy, atmospheric, Breath on a Window, Stone. Stone is killer. God, it's like a long lost Sabbath track. It's so heavy. Pretty Done, the title track. Phantom Limb, killer. Hung on a Hook. Again, more longer songs, a lot of just endless riffing, great solos. The rhythms just groove and thump all over the place. The vocals are great, and it's haunting. It's like hauntingly heavy. Is it possible to be hauntingly heavy? I don't know. I just made that up. Hauntingly heavy. That's how I find a lot of this material, and I love it. And I think this is actually a pretty cool album cover. One of their
killer.
Yeah, right. So I call this the Red Album, and it's my number 4. Could be my number 3 any day now. So, but I'll leave it as is. Back to you for number 3.
Number 3, The Devil Put Dinosaurs here from 2013. The album is killer.
Yeah.
I can't concur that it surpasses Black Gives Way to Blue, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But I mean, just the difference. Look how much I have written about my number 2 choice, which is obviously the other one with William on it. This one's killer. I'm not as familiar with Rainier Fog and this album, we'll call it the Red Album, as I am with Black Gives Way to Blue. Again, because I saw the band on that tour, and you get that, once you see the band live with that singer on that album tour, it helps plug you into that record a little bit more, I think. and I didn't ever get to see him with Lane in the band. So that was a drag, but we got to see the Singles movie, which was killer.
True.
And we'll get to that in a minute here. I just have a few killer tracks off this. I was listening to this again, kind of comparing it to Rainier Fog, trying to decide which one was going to be in the number 3. And actually yesterday, Rainier Fog was number 3 because I'm more familiar with it. But the more I listen to the Red album, Pretty Done.
Yeah.
I'm playing it on the show tonight because it's killer.
It's great.
Lab
song.
Monkey.
Oh yeah, that one too.
You know that if the song's called Lab Monkey, I'm already in. Low Ceiling is killer. Breath on the Window, I have a star and I had to put a hashtag woot next to that. And then like the end of the album seems to go into a little concept vibe with the titles, Scalpel, Phantom Limb, Choke.
Yep.
All those songs are killer. Phantom Limb has that stop-start kind of Zeppelin vibe to it.
Yeah.
But done in their own way. You can hear how Zeppelin influenced them and how they took it down their own path. Killer. I put hashtag on Choke. I had to put a hashtag yes with 3 exclamations point and a star. And I made a note that this LP is a creeper and it'll hook you in. You know, it's like a slow burn.
Yeah.
And incidentally, I wrote Slow Burn when I was listening to a ton of Alice in Chains, namely an album we'll soon get to, but the drop D, that's another thing that makes their songs haunting, is using a lot of drop D, and they do some other alternate tunings in their songs, which gives it an original kind of off-center feeling. But that album, again, Rainier Fog and that are both just so strong. And again, just like with Europe and Right Heap, and name 5 other bands, Pete, that are so vital right now. UFO kept going strong. This is a band that just people, if this show serves any good to mankind, hopefully it'll spawn you to rush out and get the 3 Alice in Chains most recent records, because they're all masterpieces.
Yeah, I mean, if you loved them back in the day, music hasn't changed. It's like it's
and
the
rock
same.
ain't dead.
Yeah, yeah.
Hallelujah.
All right, where are we? Number 3. All right, so number 3, we're going to go to the album with the 3-legged dog on it, simply titled Alice in Chains from '95. I think that I like this album a lot. I think that there are a couple albums that we already just talked about that I think are
that matches.
Yeah, it's pretty close. Yeah, there's a little green tint to this. Yeah, which matches your Dean. This is a dark album. I mean, Jesus. I mean, it's like, you know, songs are all about death and drug addiction and depression, and it's like a lot of doomy, sludgy things happening on this album. A lot of weird mixing of acoustic and electric riffs, I think, which really work. This album is not as immediate as the 2 that came before it. I think this is, even back in the day, this was a little harder album to get into, I thought, but still really good. I mean, Sludge Factory just kills. Head Creeps, you mentioned again. Frogs is great. Grind, Heaven Beside You, great track. A lot of the songs I hear are getting longer and stuff, but you know, you listen to this album and you almost get the feeling that Lane's not going to be with us for long. I mean, there's just this darkness that hangs over this whole album, and as we saw in reality, that's, you know, the direction he was going in. But dig this album a lot. I think some of the more recent albums, though, will overtake it at some point, I think, for me. But it's still really, really good. I dig it. So it's my number 3. Back to you.
Hold up the masterpiece, buddy. Black Gives Way to Blue, 2009. People, this album you got to spend some time with, because I've listened to this a ton. This is probably the one with William I'm most familiar with, obviously. But just the title track, and it's, again, the last song on the record, and they give you a rocking rendition and then a piano version. Black Gives Way to Blue is one of their all-time masterpieces. It's a masterpiece. Killer. All Secrets Known. Check My Brain. Again, that's the first time when I really heard that stalling guitar thing that sounds like they're slowing the record down, where they really brought that out. And I think that's so original and so cool. That song, that's one of the best songs ever. Your Decision is killer.
Yeah.
Killer. That song, A Looking in View has some Dimebag. You can really hear in the guitar. You know, that's not the only song you can hear some Dime in, but definite Pantera vibes there. When the Sun Rose is killer. Again, has the cool thing about Again, I mean, they're from the Pacific Northwest, and it has this wood block that, you know, going through the thing, and it gives you kind of a horse walking cadence, like, and it takes you right in, you know, to the woods and the big redwood trees. That's a killer tune. And, you know, it's like more cowbell, you need more wood block, you know. Not enough songs have that wood block in there, and they use that really cool, and that made that song really original. Lesson Learned effing rocks is what I put, exclamation point. Take Her Out. Again, we're going later in the song. The songs are just getting stronger and stronger. That was a hit to me when I just had to keep listening to that today over and over. Take Her Out. And Private Hell, that's on this album. And I think that was like the song that reminded me most of Dirt, like something that would be from the Dirt era. And I already mentioned Black Gives Way to Blue. I love this album. It's a gem.
Yep.
There's only one above it for me right now.
Yeah, I know. Well, and I think I think we're both on the same page there. My number two, I think I gave this album this lofty position more for nostalgia than anything else. I still really like it a lot. And I think this is one of those albums, I talk about this a lot on the show, where a handful of songs elevate the whole album for me. And that's Facelift from 1990. And I totally see where you're coming from. They're still a little naive at this point and not quite the band that we came to know and love. But man, when you got songs like We Die Young, I absolutely love We Die Young. Mm-hmm. You know, Man in a Box is great. We've all heard it too many times, but Love, Hate, Love, It Ain't Like That. Chemical Addiction. I mean,
that'd be the song. Like if you haven't heard Facelift and all you've heard is Man in a Box and We Die Young on the radio, go check out Love, Hate, Love.
Oh, it's great. Yeah. It's great.
That's a cool thing about Alice in Chains, when they, like the other song, Love Song from the other album, when they do a song about love, it's not like any love song you ever heard.
No, not at all. Not at all.
They got their own vibe.
And I will say, out of their whole discography, this is the most different sounding album. I mean, this is like very upbeat kind of. It's not as like dark and doomy as some of their other stuff. Pretty cool for the time, I think. But you know, I still love it a lot. But you know, I think
that album cover.
Oh yeah, the album cover.
Another great album cover.
Yeah, and then you got the back. You know, it's very cool stuff. Killer. Very cool stuff. All right, so we know what both of our number one is, so I'll just hold it up here. I mean, no surprise with this, right?
Look at that cover.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, this is.
If you're gonna have an album called Dirt, that's the way to do it right there. The off-center Gregorian harmonies are off the hook on this one. I mean, the Rooster, it's another masterpiece. And I mean, who writes a song called The Rooster? And you know, it's about his father and about the war and everything, but what a killer, moody tune. And that song never gets old. Like every time you hear it, it's the first time, you know. And it grows and it creeps in at you with the eerie harmonies in the beginning before it hits you in the face. And we mentioned the Singles movie. That's a great movie. If you want to, Pearl Jam's also in that movie. Chris Cornell's Soundgarden, they're in that movie. You get to see Alice in Chains do some live performance. And that's where they first broke their single Wood.
Yep.
In that movie. That's the song they perform in the film. That's a killer tune. The first time you hear that song, and then even the end, how they give the punches at the end.
Yep.
If I would. Perfect ending to a tune. And them bones, forget about it. Just that riff, the grindy, sludgy, gum, 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 bam, gum, 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 gum. Killer. And again, this is a band where kind of like the Who, were Townsend and Daltrey with the vocals, but even to the next level, you know.
Yeah.
So definitely most valuable player in Alice in Chains, Jerry Cantrell. And again, invite you folks to check out that Gibson interview with Jerry. I think you'll learn a lot. And that made me want to go back, and that's what inspired me to suggest this show, was after I watched that interview with him.
Plus, great album. Great. I mean, I don't really know what else to add. Rain When I Die. Love that song. Down in a Hole. How haunting is that? You know, Angry Chair. It's just amazing.
Down in a Hole.
Oh, it's great.
That's a song. Think about it. I guess the best word is poignant, but it's a down song.
It is.
But it's so beautiful.
Yeah, melodic.
It's magically delicious, that tune.
I think that's what's so great about this band, is they were so melodic.
Even though it has dark.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So melodic, even though as heavy and depressing as some of this stuff is, it's just, man, never ending riffs on this album. I remember, like, myself and everybody who I was friends with at the time, we just played the hell out of this when it came out. And for me, probably the best album to come out of that 90s Seattle scene. Maybe right up there with, like, you know, Super Unknown by Soundgarden for me anyway. But I think this is probably my favorite album from that whole era of the Seattle bands. Probably not even close. Like I said, maybe a Soundgarden album is up there, but I think this for me is definitely one of the best. So.
And Mother Love Bone Apple at number 3. The only one with Andrew. Star Dog Champion, people.
There you go. So there you have it, everybody. Ranking the studio albums of Alice in Chains, all 8 of them. Feel free to rank them as you like them in the comments below. Be interested to see how people like some of these albums. And hopefully we see some love for the newer albums, because I think if you were a fan of the band back in the day and you have not heard these 3 most recent Alice in Chains albums, you are really missing out. Go ahead and do so, because you will be pleasantly surprised by how really, really good they are. Really good. So that's all we got. Jeff, any last words to say? Anything to plug?
Well, my new single, Slow Burn, was written when I was addicted to Dirt back. I wrote it like 93, 94, and Dirt came out 92. So I was heavy. So tune that low string down to D and just start making up chords. So I'd invite you, if you dig Alice in Chains style stuff, maybe instrumental, check out my new single. It's on Bandcamp at instrumentalguitar.net, on my main website at jeffyoungsongs.com, and my radio show every Tuesday night. This week the theme is that Songs That Never Get Old show. So it's going to be all songs, not necessarily hits, but some hits, off the beaten path hits, but songs that just never seem to get old. We mentioned a few today, and Alice in Chains is a great band that has a lot of music that you can just keep going back to again and again, and it never seems to get old. This band there's something else. I told you this was one of the most excited hard rock shows I think I was, for us to do, was this one. So I put a lot of time into listening to this stuff. It's good stuff.
Same here. Yeah, I've enjoyed doing this. So cool.
Congrats on the James Gang shirt, by the way.
Thank you. Love the James Gang. Love Joe.
See the bottom. Let me see the rest of that.
Oh, it's the album cover. Shirt. It's the album cover. Yeah, it's the third album cover.
It's the anniversary of the Tommy Bolin James Gang album this week.
Oh, which one? The first one?
Might have to play some Bolin on the show this week.
Nothing wrong with that.
Gang. But very appreciate you having me back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks everybody for listening.
Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Of course, we're here on YouTube all the damn time. Make sure you check out Jeff's radio show, Music Without Boundaries, and listen to some fine music and commentary. What's up, Tallulah? So that's all for today. Alice in Chains, ranking the albums. For Jeff Young, I am Pete Pardo. We'll see you guys all real soon. Take care. Bye-bye.